Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. It was supposed to be a quiet night. Anna had texted me in the afternoon, saying her head was pounding and that she just needed silence and darkness. I told her to rest. I moved around the apartment like a guest, shoes off, voice down, every sound measured. By 9, she was in bed with the curtains drawn. I left a glass of water on the nightstand and made sure the blinds were shut tight. She didn't say much, only mumbled something about too many screens at work. I nodded and turned off the light. An hour later, hunger hit me. I didn't want to cook. Too loud, too close to the bedroom. So I grabbed my keys and decided to pick up something quick. There was a small diner near the edge of town that stayed open late. I ordered soup and a sandwich to go. While I waited, my phone buzzed. A notification popped up from our shared rideshare account. Anna's profile had just booked a ride. My first thought was that it was a glitch. Then I saw the destination, the Lantern Bar. I stared at the screen, my pulse steady but cold. Maybe she just needed air. My mind gave me a dozen excuses, all of them thin. I paid for my food, got in the car, and drove to the Lantern. The bar sat under dim golden light. I spotted her right away. She was laughing across the table from a man I'd never seen before. At first, I stayed near the door, half hidden behind a column. Maybe I wanted to believe she was there for work, or just meeting a friend. Then she reached across the table and touched his hand. Not quick, not nervous, slow, familiar. Her thumb traced the edge of his wrist, the way she used to do with mine when she wanted me to stay a little longer in bed. That small motion ended the guessing. He leaned closer, said something I couldn't hear, and she laughed again, the kind of laugh she hadn't used on me in months. She tilted her head, smiling, and for a second, it felt like I was watching a stranger wearing my wife's face. I walked in. No shouting, no scene, just calm steps to their table. I set the takeout bag down, slipped off my ring, and placed it beside her glass. For a second, Anna didn't move. Her smile froze halfway, the kind people wear when their brain hasn't caught up yet. "Frank," she said softly, like she wasn't sure if it was really me. The man beside her shifted in his seat, his face tightening. He started to speak, but I didn't give him the chance. I turned around and walked out. I didn't feel rage or panic, just a strange quiet inside me, heavier than any noise could be. I drove without thinking, just following the road until the city lights began to thin. I wasn't angry yet, just hollow. When I finally got home, the apartment was dark. I didn't turn on the lights. I sat on the couch for a minute, then noticed the tablet blinking on the coffee table. It was synced to her phone. One of those things we'd set up years ago and never disconnected. A message flashed across the screen. My chest tightened. I told myself not to look, but I did. "The Lantern, right? I'll get the corner booth." From Alvin. "Yes, back corner. I don't want anyone seeing me," Anna replied. "Can't wait to see you." "Feels like forever," he said. "Just keep it quiet, okay?" Anna told him. I scrolled up. There were weeks of messages. Photos of dinners, inside jokes, plans. She'd told him things she hadn't said to me in years, how she felt trapped, unseen, bored. Then I reached one line that made my throat go dry. "It's been over for a long time with Frank. I just haven't said it out loud yet." I set the tablet down. The room suddenly felt too small, too still. That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake or misunderstanding. She hadn't slipped. She'd moved on, long before I ever saw it happen. And maybe in some quiet way, she was right. I had disappeared. The next morning, I decided on something simple. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. If she wanted quiet, she was going to get it, just not the way she expected. When I walked into the kitchen, Anna stood by the counter in jeans and a sweater. The same woman who had been laughing with another man the night before now looked perfectly at ease. "Frank," she said, glancing up. I didn't answer. I went straight to the bedroom closet and pulled out a duffel bag. My movements were quiet, deliberate. She followed after a few seconds. "What are you doing?" "Packing." Her voice sharpened. "For what?" I folded a shirt and said quietly, "For leaving." She frowned, defensive. "Is this about last night?" I paused. "Yes." She crossed her arms. "Frank, it wasn't what it looked like." "I saw you, Anna," I said, setting another shirt into the bag. "You were sitting there with him, laughing, touching his hand like it was the most natural thing in the world." She froze, then said quickly, "Alvin's just someone from work. We were talking about a project. You really think I'd sneak around for that?" "Talking about a project? In a bar?" I asked. My voice stayed calm. Her eyes narrowed. "You're twisting it. You always do. You make everything bigger than it is." I zipped the bag and lifted it from the bed. "It's already big enough." "Where are you even going?" she asked, a hint of panic slipping into her tone. "Somewhere quiet," I said. I walked past her toward the door. She didn't stop me, just stood there in the hallway. The first few days away were strange. I stayed in a small room above my friend Daniel's garage. The quiet felt heavy at first, but it was cleaner than the silence I'd left behind. On the third day, my phone buzzed with a bank alert. $4,500 withdrawn from the joint account. That was the money we'd saved for a trip she said she couldn't wait for. Oregon, the coast, the trails, the kind of places we both said we'd see when things slowed down. I stared at the screen, then turned it face down. She'd already started her new life, piece by piece. Hours later, a message arrived. "You're overreacting. Let's not make this ugly." I stared at those words longer than I should have. They weren't cruel. They were worse, indifferent. By that night, I wasn't angry anymore, just done. It was time to see how long she'd been planning this, and why. Something in my gut told me what I'd seen wasn't the full story. 2 days later, I went back to the apartment to collect the rest of my things. Anna wasn't there. Her car was gone, and half her clothes were missing from the closet. That's when I noticed an envelope sticking out from a drawer under a pile of old mail. It was a payment receipt for a storage unit across town, dated 3 weeks earlier. I almost threw it away. Then something told me to check it. The storage facility was quiet, the kind of place where time didn't move. The clerk didn't ask questions when I showed the receipt. He handed me a key and pointed down a long hallway. Inside the unit, there were 6 boxes stacked neatly against the wall. Every one of them was labeled a Reed, her maiden name. I opened the first box and found a few framed photos, old notebooks, and a laptop I didn't recognize. Another box held clothes, toiletries, and travel bags. At the bottom of the third box was a folder marked Nashville. Inside, a signed lease for a downtown apartment starting in less than 2 weeks, an offer letter from a design firm, and a printed checklist titled New Life. It listed 5 points: transfer money, block Frank's number, cancel joint utilities, leave the ring in the drawer, and don't look back. I stood there reading it twice. It wasn't just betrayal, it was strategy. I took photos of every document, sealed the boxes, and locked the unit again. On the way out, I called David, a lawyer I'd known since college. "David," I said, "I need help starting a divorce. No drama, no delays, just clean and final." He didn't ask why. "Come by tomorrow," he said. "We'll file quietly." That night, I scrolled through the pictures on my phone. The checklist, the lease, the new name. I realized she hadn't cheated once. She'd been leaving in pieces for months. By morning, I'd printed everything: screenshots, photos, documents from the storage unit, and placed them neatly into a single folder labeled Truth. No anger, no scribbles, just clean pages and dates. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. David met me at a cafe near his office. He flipped through the pages slowly, not interrupting once. When he finished, he closed the folder and said, "You've got more restraint than most men would." "I'm not after punishment," I told him. "Just clarity." He nodded. "Then let's make it official." We filed the divorce petition that afternoon. The grounds: infidelity and financial misconduct. David handled everything quietly. No shouting, no courtroom drama. Just signatures, fees, and a date for Anna to be served. That evening, I made one last move. I emailed copies of the folder to 2 people: Anna's HR manager, because her new job contract involved legal disclosure clauses, and her father, who had always believed I was the lucky one in the marriage. I didn't write a message, just attached the files. Let the truth speak for itself. 2 days later, Anna showed up at Daniel's place. Probably someone from our mutual circle told her about my location. She didn't knock softly. The pounding on the door made the picture frames rattle. When I opened it, she was standing there with a woman in a gray suit, a lawyer named Miss Patel. "You crossed a line," Anna said, her eyes sharp. "You had no right to go through my things." "They were in our name," I replied. Miss Patel stepped forward. "Mr. Harris, We're here to request that you delete any private materials you've taken from Miss Reed's personal storage. I leaned on the doorframe. You can ask, but they're already distributed. Anna's jaw tightened. You ruined my life, Frank. I shook my head. You did that yourself. I just stopped keeping it quiet. They left without another word. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. The next week unfolded like a slow echo. Every day, something new reached me secondhand. Emails, calls, whispers from people who used to be in our shared circle. The truth had begun to move without me pushing it. Later, I heard Alvin had turned on her. When things started falling apart, he walked away first. No calls, no messages, just gone. One morning, Anna's father called. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. I don't know what to say, Frank, he murmured. I saw the documents. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't either, I said. He paused. Whatever happens next, I'm sorry. Then he hung up. That same afternoon, David forwarded me an email from Anna's employer. They had reviewed the documents I'd sent and confirmed that Anna had violated company policy by secretly arranging another job while still under contract. Her transfer offer was canceled. Effective immediately, she was out. I expected to feel triumphant, but there was nothing like that. Just a strange emptiness. The paperwork will be final in a few weeks. The life we'd built was ending through email chains and notarized pages. A few nights later, Daniel came home from work and tossed his keys on the counter. Heard she's leaving town, he said. A friend of mine saw her packing a U-Haul. I nodded. Good. The day the divorce was finalized, David met me at the courthouse. I signed the last page, and he slid the file across the table. You're free, he said simply. No more hidden passwords, no quiet pretending. Just me, a man who'd finally stopped standing still. I didn't message her, didn't check social media, didn't ask where she went. Anna had chosen her silence. Now I was learning to live in mine. A month after the divorce was finalized, I left the city. There was no announcement, no farewell dinner. I packed what little I had into my car and drove until the skyline turned to open road. I stopped in a small coastal town 2 states south, the kind of place where no one cared who you used to be. The apartment I rented was simple. My company offered me a remote position, a quiet reward for the way I'd handled things. I took it without hesitation. The days started to stretch in good ways. Mornings were for work, evenings were for small things, walking by the water, fixing up a secondhand table, sanding old wood. I'd always liked working with my hands. During the marriage, I'd given that up because Anna said sawdust made the place smell unromantic. Now, it just smelled like me. One afternoon, as I was finishing a bookshelf, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but I knew it was her before I read it. I hope you're satisfied. No greeting, no name. I stared at the screen for a moment, then set the phone down on the workbench. I didn't reply. There was nothing to gain by reopening what was already over. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel small. I felt whole. I thought about that night at the bar, the ring beside her drink, the look on her face, and realized that moment wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. And I hadn't just walked away. I'd finally walked home. Thank you for watching.